Hi, Jimmy. I had some technical difficulties today, but I'm on now. You can bring people in. Jimmy?
Yeah.
I had some technical difficulties. I couldn't get the computer to go on.
That's fine.
So
People are back.
yeah, you can bring people to the main room. We'll start. Hello.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
I'm sorry for the delay. I had technical difficulties getting my computer on this morning. So we can start with Birchot HaShachar on page 103.
100 and what?
3.
Thank you.
So it's cold in the sanctuary. That's why I'm wearing yeah, they have never fixed broken window that's here.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lasech vivina lahav kimen yom uven laila.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani b'tzalmo.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani ben chorin. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani Yisrael.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, bokeach ivrim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, malbish arumim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, matir asurim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, zokef kifufim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, rokar et salamayim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamechin misadei gaber.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Shesani kol sorki. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Ozer Yisrael b'gvura. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Oter Yisrael b'tif'ara.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Hanaten l'tiya'ef koach.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Hamavir shenai mi'enai uduma me'afapai. Continue individually through pages 107. Kadesh et shimcha maktishe shemecha v'kadesh et shimcha b'lo amecha b'shuatcha tarim v'tagbia karneinu baruch atah Adonai mikadesh et shimcha barabim. Let's continue with the Torah study blessings on page 107. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kishanu v'sotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. V'harevna Adonai Eloheinu et divrei Toratcha v'vifinu b'fi amcha beit Yisrael v'nyeh mitalmi anachnu tze'enu tze'ei amcha beit Yisrael kulanu yodei shemecha v'lomdei Toratecha v'lishma Baruch atah Adonai amelamed Torah le'amo Yisrael Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. We'll continue to study the passage we've been working on the last few weeks on page 108. Gedolah Torah lo yoter mina kuhuna mina malchut shamalchut niknet b'shloshim umalot v'hakuhuna niknet b'esrim v'arba'ah v'atorah niknet b'arba'im u'shmona devarim eluhein. Torah is greater than priesthood or royalty, for kingship is acquired through 30 qualities, in the priesthood through 24, but Torah is acquired through 48. Through study, Talmud, Shmiat ha'ozen through listening ear, Arichat Sfatayim through careful use of speech, Bevinat Halev in the understanding heart, B'schichlut Halev through insight, Be'ema through fear, Yira through awe. This is the quality we're looking at today. Yira is can also be translated as fear, but it's usually translated as awe. Heschel translated it as radical amazement, the capacity for wonder, and the inherent curiosity that's one radical curiosity that one needs when one looks at Torah and allows oneself to spend time nurturing your life with Torah. So let's go to page 110. Yiratzah milfanecha Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu Shetitan Hilkenu v'Toratecha v'niyem v'talmidav shel Haron haKohen Ohev Shalom v'Rodef Shalom Ohev et Abrigot Mikarvan LaTorah. We'll now turn to the Pesukei de Zimra, which is a time for us to do some meditation. And as I've done in the last few weeks, I choose a few melodies and then allow us just to meditate on the words and passages of this section of the prayer of the service called Pesukei de Zimra on page 122. Baruch Shamar v'Haya Haolam Baruch Hu Baruch Oseh Bereshit Baruch Moshemo Baruch Omer v'Yoseh Baruch Hu Baruch Ozer Mekayem Baruch Shemo Baruch Melachem ala Aris Baruch Hu Baruch Melachem ala Briot Baruch Shemo Baruch Meshalem Sachar Tav L'Re'ah Baruch Hu Baruch Chai La'ad V'Kayam L'Netzach Baruch Shemo Baruch Chai La'ad V'Kayam L'Netzach Baruch Shemo Baruch Podei Matzil Baruch Shemo Baruch Shemo Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Ha'el Ha'v'Rachaman Mechula B'Fi Amo. Yachid Chei Olami Melech Meshubach Mufardei Shamo Agadol Baruch Atah Adonai Melech Mehulal B'Tishbachot. Let's go to page 127 and I'm going to do this passage in the middle of the psalm on Psalm 19 on the qualities of the Torah. We'll sing that melody, sing this portion of the psalm, and then we'll follow with a minute of meditation. Torah Adonai Tamima. Torah Adonai Tamima. Torah Adonai Tamima. Shivat Nafesh. Edut Adonai Nemana. Edut Adonai Nemana. Edut Adonai Nemana. Makihimat Peti. Pikudei Adonai. Yesharim. Yesharim Isam Chelev. Mitzvat Adonai. Bara Mirate Naim. Torah Adonai Tamima. Torah Adonai Tamima. Torah Adonai Tamima. V'shivat nafesh. Yirat Adonai. Tehora, Tehora, Omedet Lad, Mishpatei Adonai, Emet, Emet, Tzadku Yachdav, Torah Adonai Tamima, Torah Adonai Tamima, Torah Adonai Tamima, V'shivat nafesh. Let's allow for a minute or so of meditation as we meditate on these powerful words. Let's turn now to the next page, on page 128. And I want to do another passage from this psalm, a beautiful passage, a beloved passage called Mia Ish Chafetz Chaim. Who is the person who desires life, loving what is good, and what is good all one's days? Guard our tongue from evil, your lips from speaking deceit. Depart from evil and do good, seek peace and pursue it. It's right in the middle of the page of the psalm there. There is a transliteration. And it's interesting, the comment in the commentary where it says, it has a comment on the last part of this phrase, Nesor Lashon Chamera, turn your tongue from evil. And this is the first requirement for being God-fearing is being careful in one's speech. And this is a quality that was much praised by the rabbis. They preferred that a person be silent than be mindless in our speech. So so let's sing. There's a beautiful melody. It goes with this. Mi'aish. Mi'aish. Echafetz chayim. Ohev yamim. Ohev yamim lirotov. Mi'aish. Echafetz chayim. Ohev yamim lirato, Nesor Lashon Chamera, Usvatecha midaber mirma, Sur meirav yasetov, Vakesh shalom v'rodfehu, Mi'aish. Echafetz chayim, ohev yamim, liroto, ya lai 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 lai, ya lai 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 lai, ya lai lai lai, ya lai lai. Let's meditate on the qualities of what it means to love life or desire life. Let's meditate for a minute. Let's go toward the end of Pesukei de Zimra and explore the Nishmat Kol Hai on page 145. So Nishmat Kol Hai is actually has a very interesting history. First of all, it is part of the Pesukei de Zimra section that we've been doing, the preliminary songs of praise. It is something that we only do on Shabbat and festivals, as opposed to these other. There is Pesukei de Zimra changes on Shabbat. It takes some additional prayers. It's expanded a bit. And I have not been doing all of Pesukei de Zimra. I've been doing selections, but there are a number of things that we add on the Shabbat. That's a lengthened Pesuki de Zimra. And Nishmat Kohai is one of those prayers. It is a beautiful prayer of gratitude. There's a nice introduction to it here. Actually, it'd be nice to read it. Let me ask, how about Susie? Why don't you read the introduction in Nishmat Kol Chai on page 145?
Do you mean over there on the
Right-hand side. Nishmat.
Nishmat is a fitting conclusion, or the soul that of all that lives?
On the right-hand side, far right,
Okay.
the comments.
This is right.
That's
Okay.
a fitting conclusion. Mhm.
Okay. Nishmat is a fitting conclusion to the Psalms and biblical verses that we have just recited, as well as an introduction to the Barachot that we are about to recite. The last psalm we recited, Psalm 150, ends with the line, "Let every breath be praise of God," and a thought that is then taken up directly in the opening line of this prayer. The soul, neshama, literally breath, of all that lives praises your name. Following on the heels of the recitation of the song at the sea, Nishmat speaks of God's rescue of the people Israel from slavery in Egypt. Equally, Nishmat looks forward to the prayers that we are about to recite. In speaking of worshiping God and all that one's body, with all one's body and all of one's soul, it anticipates the Shema, which talks of worshiping God with one's total being. And in its conclusion, Nishmat includes language found in the first blessing of the Amidah. Nishmat repeatedly moves from prose statements to rhythmic poetic lines, as if each moment of prayer becomes an occasion for song. Though the poem emphasizes the limitation of words in describing and praising God, the poet suggests that the actions of our bodies, especially our breathing, can constitute a praise of God. Indeed, in this prayer, our entire body is said to praise God. Some recite it as an introduction to Nishmat, the poem by Solomon Ibn Gabriel on page 101.
Okay. So it is, I'd like to do a couple of songs and meditations. This is really a meditational, has a meditational qualities because it talks about the body and how, so I want to do a melody to 2/3 down the page where you'll see in Hebrew, Ilu Finu Maleh Shira Kayam, which is translated here, where our mouths filled with a song as the sea. So it goes like this. Ilu Finu, 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 Male, Male, Shirakayam, Ilu Finu, Male, Shirakayam, Ilu Finu, 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 Male Shirakayam, Ilu Finu, Male Shirakayam, Ilu Finu, Ilu Finu, Ilu Finu, Ilu Finu. Let's allow for do another minute of meditation about just this line or other lines nearby in this beautiful prayer. The possibilities of gratitude. Shabbat shalom, everyone. That concludes our preliminary section. What we'll do now is take a 5-minute break, chance to say hello to everybody, wish a good Shabbos, check in, see how people are doing. So I'll have Jimmy, we'll make a breakout room and we'll return in 5 minutes around 9:51 for the Shacharit service. Hi, Jimmy. You can bring everyone back. Shabbat shalom, everyone. We're going to begin. We're just short a minyan, but we'll start anyway. Shochanad and Jonah, are you there?
Yes.
Do you want to just start do the Shochanad, just that opening prayer, which I know you know, and then I'll take over from there.
Yeah, sure. Which page again?
147. Just make yourself visible. That would be great.
Hi.
Hi there. Yeah, just start with Shochanad. By the way, you should. I don't know if your headphone is your kippah, but okay. Go ahead. Shochanad on 147, and I'll just take that to you open, and I'll start from there.
Okay, now Vekadosh Shemo. Defi Shari Betifalo. Vishal Hasidik Tifalo. Vishal Hasidik Tifalo. Vikara Kidoshi. Betis Gadal.
Thank you. V'machalot revavot amcha beit Yisrael. Varina shitpar shimcha malkeinu v'chol dor v'ador sheken chovat kol etzarim lefanecha Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu v'oto lahalel l'shabech l'fa'er l'romem lehader levarech le'alel lekales al kol divrei shiro v'tishbachot David ben Ishai Mishichecha Yishabach Simcha Le'ad Malkeinu 148. And then Barachot ve'orom et aviyad olam Baruch atah Adonai El Melech Gadol B'tishbachot El HaHodaot Adon HaNiflaot Habocher B'shirei Simra Melech Elchei Haolamim. Let's see, are we close? We're still not there. Let's go to page 150. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Yotzer or uvrei choshech osei shalom vorei et hakol hakol yaducha v'kol yishabchucha v'kol yomru ein kadosh kadonai hakol yarumcha sela yotzer hakol. Toward the bottom of the page. Efes ker kachad Adonai Eloheinu b'olam hazeh, ein zulatecha emalkeinu l'chayei olam haba. Efes biltecha golim yemot hamashiach, v'ein domeh lecha, moshienu l'tchiyat hametim. On page 151, the Eladon hymn. El Adonai kol hamasim, Baruch Mevorach v'fi kol nishama. God love etuvo mahale olam, Da'at vuna sova v'imoto, HaMikael hayot HaKodesh, V'nedar b'chavod al HaMerkava. Zuhutu mishor lifnei chiso, Esed v'rachamim lefnei kevodo, Tovim meorot shebara Eloheinu, Yitzhar Ramadat, Bavina Uvhaskel, Koach Uvura Natan Bahem, Liod Moshli Mekerev Tevel, Mleim Zihim Afikim Noga, Nahesivam, Behola Olam, Smechim Beseitam Besasim Bevoam, Osimei Maratson Kohonam, Beher V'chavononim Lishmo, Solavarina Lezechar Malchuto, Ara Lashemesh Vayisrach Or, Ra'av Hikin Surat Halvana, Shevach Nonim Lo, Kol Sfa Marom, Tiferet Ugedula, Srafim Belfanim Bechayot HaKodesh, Lael Asher Shabbat Mikol HaMahasim, 152, V'yom HaShvi. Titbarach Surah Moshienu al Shevach Maaseh Yadecha V'yam Meorei Or She'asita Yefaru Chasela. Turn to page 153. Titbarach Surenu Malkeinu V'go Aleinu. Let's read in the left-hand side, the poem In the Beginning. In the beginning, God created the heavens that actually are not, and the earth that wants to touch them. In the beginning, God created threads stretching between them, between the heavens that actually are not, and the earth that cries out for help. And God created humans. For each person is a prayer and a thread, touching what is not with a tender and delicate touch. Kulam ahuvim, kulam giburim, kulam osim be'ema, uyira ratzon konam, v'kulam potchim epihem b'kedushav tara, v'shira uv'zimra u'mevarchim v'shabchim mefarim u'maritzim u'makdishim u'mamlichim. Et Shem Ha'el HaMelech HaGadol HaGibor VaHanora Kadosh Hu. V'chulam mekablim aleichem ol mechut shemaim zeh mizeh reshut zeh lazeh l'akdish yotzram b'nachad ra b'safa v'rura unima kedusha kulam ke'echad onim v'omrim b'yira Kadosh, 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 Adonai Sebaot, Milo Kol Haaretz Kevodo, V'alfani V'chayot HaKodesh, B'ra'ash Gadol Minasim Lumat Serafim, Lumatam Mishabchim V'yomrim, Baruch Kavod Adonai Mikomo. Le'al Baruch Nimo Yiteinu Lemelech El Chai V'Kayam Zmirod Yomeu Tishbachot Yashmiu Ki Hu Levado HaMechadesh B'Tuva B'Chol Yom Tamid Ma'aseh V'Reshit Ka'amor Le'oseh Orim Gedolim Ki Le'elam Chasto Or Chadash Al Tzion Ta'ir V'Nischech Ulanu Mehera Le'oro Baruch Atah Adonai Yotzeh We come to Ahava Rabbah prayer, the second blessing in the Shema and its blessings, page 154. And please join me behind your mute to the melody of Rabbah. Abba Rabbah Tanu. Adonai Eloheinu, Hem la gedola v'teira, Amalta Aleinu Ba'avur Avotenu Avinu Malkeinu Ba'avur Avotenu Shabbat Becha Avinu Malkeinu Vatilam Denhu Kechaim Ken Tichanenu Tilamdenu Avinu Avarachaman Rachem Aleinu V'tem B'libeinu Lahavinu Laskil Lishmoa Lilmod Lilamed Lishmor V'lasot Ulekayem Ekol Divrei Talmud Toratecha B'yava V'yahayer Enenu B'toratecha V'dahabek Libeinu B'mitzvotecha V'yached Lihivavenu V'yahava U'yira Et Shemecha V'lo nevos V'lo nevos Le'olam vayet Ki b'Shem Kodshecha Hagadol v'hanora b'atachnu Nagila v'nismecha Nagila v'nismecha b'shuatecha V'yavienu l'shalom arba kanfot ha'aretz Tolechenu kimimu le'artseinu ki el poel shodata Uvanu v'charta mikol am l'ashon V'keirabtanu l'shimcha gedol sela be'emet L'odol lecha yechecha b'yahava Baruch atah Adonai Abocher b'yamo Yisrael B'yahava Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad V'yahavta et Adonai Elohecha B'chol levavcha B'chol nafshecha U'b'chol meotecha V'hayu adivarim ha'ele Asher Anochi mitzavcha Hayon levavecha V'shinantan levanecha V'dibarta bam V'shivtecha B'veitecha V'lechtecha V'derech U'shopecha U'vkumecha U'kshartam liot al yadecha V'ayula totafot beineinecha uktatam al mezuzot betecha uvisharecha. Continue now individually on page 156 with the second paragraph on the Shema and the third paragraph. Adonai Elohechem Emet Olam Malkeinu Su Yaakov Magen Yishenu L'dor v'ador Chayam Shemo Kayam V'chiso Nachul Malchuto. You may drop your fringes. We continue on 157. Ki Emet shatahu Adonai Eloheinu v'Elokei avotenu, Malkeinu melech avotenu, Goalenu Goel avotenu, Imotenu Yotzreinu Sushuatenu, Modenu Matzilenu me'olam shemecha, Ein Elohim zulatecha, Ezrat avotenu matahu me'olam. At the bottom of the page, we do the words emet, and we'll do a melody to this passage, emet atahu. Emet, 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 emet atahu rishon, yatahu acharon, umi baladecha, ein lanu melech, ein lanu goel, u'moshiach, u'moshiach. Mimitzrayim galtanu. 158. Adonai Eloheinu mibeit avadim piditanu. Kol baruch. And then in the red arrow there, Tehilot le'elayon baruch u'mevorach, Moshe uvnei Yisrael, Miriam uvnei Yisrael, lachanu shira b'simcha rabah, v'yamru kulam, mi chamocha, ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha, nedar b'kodesh, Nora Tehilot, Osei Fele, Shira Hadesha Simchu, Shibchu Gulim Shimcha Asfatayam, Yacha Kulam Hodu Vehim Lichu, V'yamru, Adonai Yimloch, Leolam Vahed. We rise now for Sur Yisrael and for the Amidah. In the Amidah, I'm going to do the Amidah in the version where we do it individually and then come back together to repeat it, the Hazarah. Please allow a few minutes to chant the Amidah individually, and then I will start that soon afterwards. Sur Yisrael, Kuma be'ezrat Yisrael, Uftechu mecha, Yehuda va'Yisrael, Go aleinu, Adonai Savot Shemo, Kadosh Yisrael, Baruch, Atah Adonai, Gal Yisrael. Pages 159 through 165. 159 through 165. We turn now to Hazarah on page 159. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avoteinu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzhak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor VaHanora El Elyon Gomel HaSadim Tovim Mekonei Hakol V'zocher Chasdei Avot Umevi Goel Libnei B'neihem L'man Shemo B'Yahava Melech Ozer Umoshia Umagen Baruch Atah Adonai Mechaye Magen Abraham Ufoked Sarah Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mechaye Metim Atah Rab L'Hoshia Morid Hatal Mechalkel Chaim B'Chesed Mechaye Metim Berachamim Rabim Somech Noflim V'Rofech Cholim Umatir Asurim Umekayem Emunato Lishene Afar Michamocha Bal Gvurot Umidomelach Melech Memid Umechaye Umatzmiach Yeshua V'nemana Tal Chayot Metim Baruch Atah Adonai Magen Abraham Baruch atah Adonai Mechaye HaMeitim. Now we're 161. And Jonah, listen, this is the part you're learning. Nikadesh et Shimcha B'olam, Kichem Shemati Shimoto B'Shmei Marom, Kakatu V'Yad Nevi'echa, V'Karazeh El Zeh V'Amar, Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh Adonai Sevaot, V'lo Kol Haaretz Kivodo, Az B'Kol Ra'ash Gadol, Adir V'Chazak Mashbi'in Kol, B'Nasim U'mat Serafim, Liumatam Baruch Yomeru, Baruch Kavod Adonai Mimkomo, Mimkomcha Malkeinu, Mimkomcha Malkeinu, Dofia, V'tim Loch Aleinu, Himechakim Anachnu Lach, Yai Lai, Matai Timloch, B'Tzion, B'Karo B'Yameinu, Leolam Va'ed Tishkon, Titkadal, V'Tikadash, V'Tok Yerushalayim, Ircha, L'Dor V'Ador, L'Netzach Netzachim, L'Netzach Netzachim, V'Einenu Tireina, Malachutecha, Kadavar Hamor, B'Shirei Uzecha, Al Yedei Mashiach Sikecha, Mashiach Sikecha, Imloch Adonai Le'olam Elohayich Sion, L'Dor V'Ador, Hallelujah. L'Dor V'Ador, Nagid Golecha, U'Lenetzach Netzachim Kedushat Chanatish, V'Shivcha Halahinu Mepino Le'yamush Le'olam Va'ed, Yel Melech Kadosh V'Kadosh Ata, Baruch Atah Adonai, Hayel HaKadosh. Page 162. You may be seated if you are standing. Yismach Moshe b'manat helko ki even neman karata lo kril tiferet v'rosho natata v'yamdo lefanecha Har Sinai Yismach Moshe b'manat helko ki even neman karata lo Shnei luchot avanim horid biyado v'chatu b'hem shmirat Shabbat v'ken katu b'toratecha Yismach Moshe b'manat helko ki even neman karata lo V'chen katu b'toratecha v'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ביני ובין בני ישראל עוד היא לעולם ביני ובין בני ישראל עוד היא לעולם כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש. Continue on 163. כי לישראל עמך נתת באהבה בזרע יעקב אשר במכרת. ויום מקדשי שביעי כולם יספרו ויתענגו מטובך והשביעי רצית בו וקידשתם. הם דתם אותו קראת זכר למעשה בראשית. אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו רצה במנוחתנו. קדשנו במצוותיך ותן חלקנו בתורתך. שמחנו בישועתך ושמחנו בישועתך. והאר ליבנו לעבדך באמת. והנחילנו אדוני אלוהינו באהבה וברצון שבת קודשך. וינוחו בה ישראל וקדשי שמך ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. רוצה אדוני אלוהינו בעמך ישראל תפילתם וישב עבודת בביתך ותפילתם ואהבה תקבל ברצון ותהי לרצון תמיד עבודת ישראל עמך. Turn to page 164. ותחזיין עינינו בשובך לציון ברחמים ברוך אתה אדוני המחזיר שכינתו לציון. מודים אנחנו לך מתי תמלוך אלוהינו מלך אלוהים. עתו אלוה לרחמך והמרחם לא תמו עשדיך. עתו אלוה לרחמך והמרחם לא תמו עשדיך. מעולם מעולם הבינו לך. מעולם מעולם הבינו לך. ועל כולם יתברך V'tramam shimcha malkeinu tamid le'olam vayed. V'kol hachayim yiducha sela. V'halalu et shimcha be'amed ha'el shuateinu v'ezratenu sela. Baruch ata Adonai. Atov shimcha Adonai. Shimcha lacha na'eh lehodot. Turn now to 165 for the Birkat Kohanim. You can unmute and respond with Ken Yehi Ratzon. Eloheinu v'Eloi Avotenu, Barucheinu b'bracha mishulesha b'Torah k'tuva yidei Moshe abdecha, Amur mi'pi Aharon uvanav, Kohanim am kedoshecha ka'amur. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka, Yisad Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. Sim shalom, tova uvracha, chen v'chesed v'rachamim, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, amecha. Sim shalom, tova uvracha, chen v'chesed v'rachamim, Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, Amecha. Barucheinu Avinu kulanu ke'echad v'yor panecha, v'yor panecha natat lanu Adonai Eloheinu. Torat Chaim v'avat chesed ustaka uvracha v'rachamim v'chaim shalom. Sim shalom tova uvracha chen v'chesed v'rachamim Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, Amecha. V'tov beinecha levarech et amcha Yisrael, v'chol et v'chol sha'a b'shlomecha. Sim shalom tova uvracha chen v'chesed v'rachamim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael amecha. Baruch atah Adonai amvarech et amo Yisrael Bashalom. We turn now to 166 and welcome Gila Yaniv. Welcome to Zoom. I know that you've come many times on the live stream, so welcome for breaking through to Zoom and being face to face with us. How about, can I get, let's see, Jesse, would you read the beautiful prayer on 166, Bet, where it says, grant me the liberating joy of Shabbat?
Grant me the liberating joy of Shabbat, the ability to truly taste its delights. May my heart not be weighed down by sorrow on this holy Shabbat. Fill the soul of your servant with gladness. For to you, Adonai, I offer my entire being. Help me to increase the joys of Shabbat and to extend this joyful spirit to the other 6 days of the week. Show me the path of life, that I may be filled with the joy of being in your presence, the light of being close to you forever. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, Adonai, my rock and my redeemer.
Thank
May the-
you. That's good. That's
Yeah.
good. Thank you. Kaddish Shalem 167. Yikara Vikara Shemei Rabbah. V'alma divrach yirteh v'yamlich malchuteh v'chayichon v'yimachon chayedeko b'Yisrael b'gala v'isman kari v'imeru. Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevorach. Le'olam le'olmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipar yiterman v'yinaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal Shemei dekudasha b'richu. Leila min kol birchata v'shirata tushpachata v'nechamata damiram b'alma v'imeru. Amen. Titkabel salot hon avot hon kol Yisrael kadam avot hon yishamaya v'imeru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shamaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imeru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'romav uyaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imeru. Amen. Oh, say shalom b'roma, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. V'al kol Yisrael, v'al kol Yoshvei Tevel, v'imeru. Amen. Shabbat shalom, everyone. We're going to take a short break, as we do at 10:30, for another 5 minutes. Breakout rooms. Jimmy, why don't you make us some smaller breakout rooms so people can say a good Shabbos to each other, introduce yourself if you don't know the person, and we'll come back in 5 minutes to begin the Torah service. Maybe see if he's here. Jimmy, are you breaking it up into breakout rooms?
Looks good.
I'll need, Jimmy, I'll need to be able to share screen. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Shabbat Shalom. Good to see you all.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
We're going to begin now with the Torah service. Jonah, would you like to lead Torah service? You don't have to, but I know I'm putting you on the spot.
It's okay if I don't.
Yes, it is okay if you don't. You can enjoy and observe. All right, so let us continue with the Torah service on page 168. Ein kamocha ba'Elohim Adonai v'ein kama'asecha malchutecha malchut kol amim umemshaltecha b'chol dor v'dor Adonai melech Adonai malach Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed Adonai oz le'amo yitein Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom Ava rachamim etiva virtzon ha'et Sion Timnei chomot Yerushalayim Ki v'chalavat batachnu Melech elam v'nisa Adon olamim. Vayivitza Aaron vayomer Moshe Kuma Adonai v'yafutzu oivecha v'yanusu mipanecha ki Tzion tetzei Korah ki mitzion tetzei Torah udavar Adonai mirushalayim Baruch shenatan Torah Baruch shenatan Torah le'amo Yisrael b'kedushato. Turn to page next to the Be'an Arachetz on page 170. Be'an Arachetz Be'an Arachetz V'lishmei kadisha yakira Ayla amartu shbechan Be'an Arachetz Be'an Arachetz V'lishmei kadisha yakira Ayla amartu shbechan Ye'rava kadama amach V'tiftach libi be'oraita Ayayla Tashlin mishalin libi Hayla Yisrael V'tav l'chaim v'lishla Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Repeat after me. Unmute.
Israel, Adonai,
Adonai Echad.
Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonenu Kadosh Shemo.
Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonai.
Gadol Adonai. Urama Shelo Yachdav Lecha Adonai. V'Yagvura V'Yatiferet V'Yanetzach V'Yahod Ichol B'Shamayim U'Va'aretz Ichol B'Shamayim U'Va'aretz Adonai.
No, Kadosh, Adonai Eloheinu, Yisrael, Kodesh, Kikodesh, Adonai Eloheinu.
Rabbi, I can't hear you.
Rabbi, you're muted.
Yes, I thank you. It's always good to have 20 people tell you you're muted. Was I muted for the Torah service?
No,
No,
you're good.
Weird. I don't know
No.
why that happened. Yeah, anyway, well, I'm back. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Please turn in your Chumash. If you're gonna be able to follow our reading, we're in this year combined Tazria Mitzorah portion on, we are on page 657. We're on chapter 13 in the book of Leviticus. And we are at this stage of our reading in the year, we are right in the middle of Leviticus, pretty much in the middle of the sequence of reading. So the portion for today, Tazria Mitzorah, is probably safe to say one of the more inscrutable Torah portions. I know bar mitzvahs who stand in dread of receiving this portion for their bar bat mitzvah, except for future dermatologists. This is a section of Torah that centers on the issue of ritual purity and all of this became somewhat moot when the Torah was destroyed and the laws around ritual purities really could no longer be applied. But given our commitment to reading the entire Torah, this is part of our sequence, and so we read it. And there have been I can always remember the Divrei Torah I give on Tazria, because I have to really you have to really read the sources for different types of messages. But probably the most common rabbinic message to this is the connection between skin disease and lashon hara. That is that language. Then we are careless with our language when we gossip and we talk badly or ill of people behind their backs. That the resulting punishment are these skin diseases. That's how the rabbis understood it. Of course, pretty classic commentary around the impacts of Lashon Hara. Anyway, just a little bit of an introduction. We're going to do what we've been doing, and that is to have you follow the reading by using Safaria, which I'm bringing up right now. And there it is. So you can, we're actually, let me just go back here. If I can go back, I don't know why it's not moving. There it is. We're starting, yeah, at 40. I'm sorry, I was right there. So let's do the blessing for the study of Torah, and then we'll begin. Belina Abner will be our first reader on 13, verse 40, which is right there. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Take it away, Belina.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Ve'ish ki yimarek v'sho kereyahu tahorhu ve'im mipa'at panav yimarek v'sho giveyahu tahorhu V'chiyah v'karachat o v'gabachat nega lavon adam tzaraat porachat hi v'karachato o v'gabachato v'ra'a oto HaKohen, v'hineh se'etanega levana adam detnet v'karachato o v'gabachto k'mar'e tzaraat or basar ish sarua Hu tamehu tamaenu hakohen berosho nigo v'hatsarua asher bo hanega bigadav you Perumim verosho yefarua ve'al safam yateh v'tameh tameh yikra kol yemei asher hanega bo yitmat tamehu Bedad yeshev michutz lamachaneh moshabo.
Thank you, Belina. You're going to continue now with the next aliyah, second aliyah, verse 47 through 54. If you're following in the, you can follow in the Chumash, you'll be able to also read some commentary there.
V'habeged ki yevo negataraat Beveged semer, oh, beveged pishatim, oh, vishati, oh, ve'erev, lipishatim, vilatsa mer. Oh, be'or, oh, bechol melechet or, v'haya nega, Yirak rak oh Adam Adam Babeged Ova Ova Shati Ova Erev O Bechokali Or Negatara hu Vehara et hakohen Vira hakohen et hanaga Vehisagir et hanega shivat yamim Vira et hanega Bayom hashbi'i Ki fasa hanega babeged Ova sheti ova erev ova or lecho asher ye'aseh haor limalacha sarat mameret Hanega tamehu visaraf et habeget oho et hashti o et haerev batzemer ova fi bat ova pishtim oho et kol kalia or asher yevo hanaga kitsarat mam eret hiv ba'esh tisarei v'im yir et hakohen v'hinei lo fasa hanega babeged o vashti Ovash ba'erev, o bechokali or. Vetziva hakohen v'chi basu, et asher bo haga naga, v'hi sediro shivat yamim, sheni.
Shekoach. I want to just read you from the commentary on 47. There's in the Etz Chaim, you may see it on page 3658. Although most medieval and modern commentators see the eruption of sarat in clothing as a natural phenomenon, a form of rot or fungus, Maimonides and Nachmanides, Ramban, see it as supernatural, something that could take place only in the land of Israel. Because of that land's sensitivity to immorality, even the clothes one wears could bear witness to the moral decay of the person wearing them. Pretty wild commentary. Although the laws of Tumas seem very foreign to us, they flow directly from the Israelite sense that being able to come into God's presence is an irreplaceable privilege. This led them to be profoundly concerned with anything that might estrange them from the divine presence. This, by the way, been doing a lot of reading in preparation for the new classes I'm teaching. And one of the things is studying the Pharisees' understanding of ritual purity and of the laws that developed in the oral, the rabbinic tradition around behavior and ethical behavior as well as ritual behavior, and the real concern about meticulousness around moral behavior. And this, by the way, was not limited to the land of Israel. There are obviously these minority views that saw that these laws were applied only to Israel, and that there was this unique connection in Israel around purity. But our descendants, the Pharisees, who are a competing sect concerning Judaism in antiquity really developed these notions. And of course, the Pharisees became the rabbis. So our traditions around observance and practice developed from them, not from the other sects, including one of them was Christianity. And so there was a real sensitivity to those matters in the Torah, or at least as is conveyed to us. So let's go on now to the next Aliyah, and that is 1355. Again, Belina will be our reader. 55 through 59.
וראה הכהן אחרי הכבש את הנגע, והנה לא הפך הנגע את עינו, והנגע לא בשר טמא הוא, באש תשרפנו, פחתת היא בקרחתו, או בגבחתו, ואם ראה הכהן, והנה כהנגע אחרי וכבש אותו וקרע אותו מן הבגד או מן האור או מן השתי או מן הערב, ואם תראה עוד בבגד או בשתי או בערב, או בכל כלי אור, אורחת היא, באש תשרפנו, את אשר בו הנגע, והבגד, או השתי או הערב, או כל כלי האור, אשר הכבש בשר מהם הנגע, וכובס שנים וטהר, זאת תורת נגע צרת, בגד התמר או הפשתים, או השתי, או הערב, או כל כלי אור, לטהרו, או לטהרו.
Thank you, Belina. We're now going to go to Mitzorah. Mitzorah on verse 1, chapter 14, and Andy Edwards will be our reader.
וידבר אדוני אל משה לאמור, זו תהיה תורת המצורע ביום טהרתו, והובא אל הכהן, ויצא הכהן אל מחוץ למחנה, וראה הכהן, והנה נרפא נגע הצרעת מן הצרוע, וציווה הכהן, ולקח למטהר שתי ציפורים היום טהרות, ויעץ ארץ ושני תולעת ועצו, וציווה הכהן ושחט את Hatzipor ha'echad el kilei cheres almayim hayim.
Mr. Koach, Andy, on the fourth Aliyah. We'll now continue with the fifth Aliyah on 14:6. I'm getting a little echo from someone, so they may want to mute themselves. We now will continue. Mitzora deals with the purification rites for individuals. We'll continue with that thread. I recommend that you look at the commentary on Etz Chaim, page 660, 661, as we read through this.
Who's reading?
I'm reading. Et hatzipor hachaya yikach otaha et eitz ha'erez et shnei hatolaat et ha'ezov v'taval otam et hasipor hachaya v'dam hatzipor hashchuta al hamayim hachayim. He's mitaher minasarat sheva pe'amim v'tiharo shila v'shileach shilech et hasipor hachaya al panei hasadeh v'kibes hamitaher et habegadav gila et se'aro v'rachatz b'mayim taher v'achar yavoho el hamachaneh v'yashav michutz le'ohalo shivat yamim v'haya b'yom hashvi'i yigalach et kol se'aro v'et rosho v'et zikno v'et gabot enav v'kol se'aro yigaleach v'kibes bigadav v'rachas et b'saro b'mayim taher v'taher 10 Bayom Hashmini Yikach et kebasim tmimim v'kivsa achat vat shanata tmima v'shlosha esroni solet mincha bula b'shemen v'lo gechad shamen. V'heimid hakohen hamitaher et haish hamitaher otam lifnei Adonai petach ohel moed v'lakach hakohen et hakeves ha'echad hikriv oto le'asham et log hashamen v'henif Otam tunufaha lifnei Adonai. I'm going to continue with the sixth aliyah, verses 14, 13 through 20. Now we come to deal with the lamb, the keves. V'shachat et ha-keves B'komo asher ishchat et achatat et ola b'minkom hakodesh kahatat Hashem hu lakohen kodesh kodeshim hu v'lakach hakohen midam Hashem natan hakohen al tanuch ozen taher hayiminit al bochen yado hayiminit al bochen yaglav hayiminit. Verse 15. V'lakach hakohen milog hashamen v'yisak al kaf hakohen hashmolit v'taval hakohen et etzba'o hayiminit min hashemen asher al kapo hasmolit hiza min hashemesh be'etzba'o sheva pamim lifnei Adonai. And then, 17. V'yeter Hashem asher kapo yiten hakohen al tanuch ozen amitaher hayiminit al bochen hayiminit al bochen raglo hayiminit al dam hasham anotar b'shemen asher al kaf hakohen yitain al rosh hamitaher v'chiper alav hakohen lifnei Adonai v'yasa hakohen et hachatat v'chiper al hamitaher mitumato achar yishchat et haolah v'heila hakohen et haolah v'et hamincha hamizbechacha v'chiper al alav hakohen v'taher. Okay, the seventh aliyah is going to be on verse 21 through 32. You'll find that on bottom of page 662 through 663 in the Chumash. V'im dal hu ein yado misa maseget v'lakach keves echad asham l'tnufa l'chaper alav v'yisaron solet echad balul b'shemen l'mincha v'laog shamen. Ushtei torim shnei b'nei Yonah asher tasig yado v'haya echad chatat ha'echad olah v'hevi otah bayom hashmini l'tarato el hakohen El petach ha'ohel mo'ed livnei Adonai. V'lakach hakohen et hakebes ha'asham v'yedlok hashamen v'hanif otam hakohen tunufa livnei Adonai. V'shachar et keves Hasham, v'lakach kohen mitam Hasham, v'natan al tanuch ozen amitaher hayaminit, al bohen yado hayaminit, al bohen raglo hayaminit, Umin shemen yatzitzo kakohen al kaf hakohen asmolit. Verse 27. Biza hakohen betzba'o hayeminit min Hashemen asher al kapo asmolit sheva pamim lifnei Adonai v'natan hakohen min Hashemen asher kaf al kapo al tanuch ozen hamitaher hayeminit al bochen yado hayeminit al bohen raglo hayeminit al makom dam ha'asham v'hanotar min hashemen asher al kaf hakohen yiten al rosh hamitaher lechaper alav alifnei Adonai v'asa et ha'echad min hatorim o min b'nei Yonah me'asher tasig yado v'etasig yado et ha'echad chatat et ha'echad olah al hamincha v'chiper ha'kohen al mitaher lifnei Adonai. Torat asher bo negas ra'at asher lo tasig yado betaharato. Ad kan, the seventh aliyah. So I'm going to, we're not going to do the maftir for being online just for time-saving purposes. I'm going to now turn to the Haftarah, and which will be done by Belina Avner. Let me do the Hatzi Kaddish. Let me give you the page for the. We're on 1 Kings. You'll find it. I think it's the one I'm. Let's see. Get you the.
675.
Thank you. That's right. We're going backwards. There it is. So the right, 1 Kings. Actually, it's 2 Kings. That's why I got confused in the listing here. It's 2 Kings. We're going to do this Haftarah. There's a nice introduction to the Haftarah that describes, gives you context for the Haftarah. I'll let you read that on your own. We are going to read this an abridged reading done by Belina, and we'll be doing verse 3 through verse 13, page 676 and 677. And before we do that, I'm going to do the Hatzi Kaddish. Yitkara v'ikara shemei Rabbah, v'yalmad yivrach yirtei v'yamlik malchutei v'chayichon yomechon chayir kol be'Yisrael b'galav yisman kari v'imeru. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam al me'almaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipar yitramam yinaseh yitadar yitalev yitalal shmei dekudesha b'richu le'elam min kol berchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechmata damiram be'alma v'imeru. Amen. Again, we continue now. I'll bring the text up so you can follow it. 2 King, if you're in the Chumash 676, I'll bring the text up for your being able to see it. Just a second. Okay, here we go. Go ahead, Belina.
וארבעה אנשים היו מסורעים פתח השער, ויאמרו איש אל רעהו, מה אנחנו יושבים פה עד מתנו, אם אמרנו נבוא העיר והערב העיר. I hope I've got the right trope. ועמדנו שם, ואם ישבנו פה, just a moment.
La 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 la.
ועמדנו ועתה לכו ונפלה את מחנה ארם. I can't get that tune. Just give me a minute.
It's okay. It's all right. You can continue with
אם
the.
יחיינו נהיה ואם ימיתנו ומתנו ויקמו ונשב לבוא אל מחנה ארם ויבואו עד קצה מחנה ארם והנה אין שם איש ואדוני השמיע את מחנה ארם כל רכב כל סוס כל חיל גדול ויאמרו איש אל אחיו הנה שכר עלינו מלך ישראל את מלכי החיתים ואת מלכי מצרים לבוא עלינו ויקומו וינוסו בנשק ויעזבו את אהליהם ואת סוסיהם ואת חמוריהם המחנה כאשר היא וינוסו אל נפשם ויבואו המצורעים האלה עד קצה המחנה ויבואו אל אוהל אחד ויאכלו וישתו ויישאו משם כסף וזהב ובזהב ובגדים וילכו ויטמינו וישובו ויבואו אל אוהל אחר וייסעו משם וילכו ויטמינו ויאמרו איש אל רעהו לא כן אנחנו עושים היום הזה יום בשרהו ואנחנו מחשישים וכיסינו עד אור הבוקר ומצאנו עוון ועתה לכו ונבואה ונגידה Beit HaMelech, Vayavo, Vayikru El Soer Ha'ir, Vayagidu Lahem Lemor, Banu El Machane Adam, Vahine Ein Sham Ish V'kol Adam, Ki Im Hasus Asur, V'hachamor Asur, Ve'ohalim Ka'asher Hema, Vayikra Hashoarim, Vayagidu Beit HaMelech Penima, Vayakam HaMelech Laila, Vayomer El Avadav, Agidana Lachem, Et Asher Asulanu Aram, Yadu Kire'evim Anachnu, Vayetu Min HaMachaneh, V'hechabed Basadeh Lemor, Ki yetzu min ha'ir, v'nita persem chayim, ve'el ha'ir navo vayam. Echad me'avadav vayomer, vayikchuna chamisha min hasusim Hanisharim Arim Asher Nisru Ba Hinam Kecho Hamon Yisrael Asher Nisharu Hinam Kecho Hamon Yisrael Asher Tamud V'nishlecha v'nir'eh.
Zhikoach Belina, and to Andy Edwards for reading today's portion. And Zhikoach to all of you. The reason by the way, I'm wearing the coat is that the sanctuary is very cold and there's still a broken glass in the sanctuary. So all the cold air comes in. Today is a cold day. So anyway, good to see you all. And what I wanted to do just briefly before we go back to the service is I wanted to share with you, not a Devar Torah, but just I thought a check-in with everybody, how they're doing, and in this this transition period of where people are getting shots and we're not quite back to getting to normal. That transition will take a little while, but I wanted to tell you a little bit of what I'm thinking about, working on, and some ideas. And also just to hear a little bit from you too. So first of all, people getting shots, are they getting your vaccinations? I see some positive hands. That's someone says ones, and that's great. Is anyone still in line waiting to get at vaccinations in this group? So it sounds like people are getting vaccinations. That's great, and people I hope are being able to resume some expanded activities. What are people doing that is different than before in the more restricted periods?
Rabbi, this is Madeline. I'm traveling. We went to Chicago last week. We went to visit my 101-year-old uncle.
Very lovely, lovely. And how was it to go in a plane?
Not bad at all. We took some disinfectant spray bottles, but we didn't really need it. It's the seats were not occupied. The planes were, it was Southwest Airlines. The plane had probably, I would say, what, 75 people or less? And they hold like close to 300, I guess. I don't know. But it was very easy travel, no problem at all. But bring your own food, because very few of the shops are open, like even to get just a cup of coffee or a sandwich. You just can't find much food. Just bring a snack.
Good. Anyone else is starting to do things that they didn't used to do? Doris?
I am having a girls' trip up to Santa Fe for 2 days next week.
Great. Terrific. Good. Anyone else want to report on their post-vaccine experience? Well, we're doing outdoor services, which we just started a few weeks ago on Friday nights, and that's positively a joy to be able to gather. And that's last night we saw, as we were doing services, those who were on in the just over in the park, there were people doing silent, what was it called? The
Silent disco.
silent disco, where, yes, that's what I said. They're given headphones, and they can listen to a few channels of dance music, and they were just dancing like crazy.
They were.
Over just over in the other part of the park. It was really nice doing services, looking at them dancing and cavorting in the outdoors. That was a nice sign of things going on. Anyone else want to comment? Yes.
Rabbi, I want to ask a good thing, if you can please consider having the confirmation outdoors instead of on Zoom, because last year's confirmation class never had a confirmation. And so they're going to join together with this year's confirmation class. And it would be so nice to be able to have it in the park or in the parking lot or in the sukkah or wherever, just so that we can all be together but apart, if that's at all possible.
We're working on it. I think it will be outdoors. It'll be sometime either May 14th or May 21st. So
it would be wonderful. Yeah. I think the kids would love it, and I think all of us old people would love seeing those kids again. I mean, we miss it. You know, we're a hugging kind of species, and we can't even see kids, and it just would be so nice to be able to be with them.
Yeah, well, that's the plan. We're working on it. We'll let you know once we have a plan on that. So,
great.
Yeah,
great.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, that's good. I do want to let you know that if you want, while we have not opened up the synagogue, I am letting people come to the sanctuary who have vaccinations. So if you want to come to a Shabbat morning service and be here, Melissa's here. We're expecting someone else to join us. Gila was there last week. You're welcome to come. You just send me a note that you're coming so that we can make sure that with the doors that we open the door, because the doors are, we're not yet public and we're not announcing, people can come to services as a matter, just as being open for the public. So, but if you want to, it's perfectly okay. And I know people have gotten comfortable being on the Zoom, but some people really miss being in the sanctuary, and that's also okay. So let me know, and I'll be glad to have you. Just a couple of things that I'm working on. I want to just sort of give you updates. we have this new shiur in Shabbat afternoons. Many of you are signed up for it, and I assigned this week the section this is a book called The Observant Life, and I committed to sharing chapters not just on ritual law, which we'll surely cover, but also Jewish understandings and law regarding other aspects of reality, and citizenship was the first one I chose, and we're reading that chapter, and it is really interesting. I've gotten some already preliminary feedback about what the Torah, really what our obligations are regarding our role as citizens, and it was really some very interesting material in this essay around, particularly around the notions of consent, whether our tradition, what are the intersections between the idea of citizenship, which is a modern idea, and Jewish ideas around or democratic ideals. One of the interesting things that just fascinating to me are the very strong Jewish notion on putting limits on power. And I give you just a couple examples, just because it's just fascinating to discuss. Is in the Torah, Moses, of course, is a prophet, but he doesn't have, he's not allowed to serve as a priest, which is Aaron's role. And also Moses' descendants are not priests, that's Aaron's role. So we see actually a distinction around roles within Israeli society. I wouldn't call it checks and balances, but the Jewish notion of there being there's priests have certain roles, the king who will emerge will have certain roles and has limits on his power, and the role of prophet, which is actually Moses' status as and later prophets really serve as critics of the institutions of kingship and priesthood. So we see really a built-in limitation of power. Moses himself is not a power seeker, at least the way it's depicted in the Torah. He's reluctant to serve. He has to be persuaded to serve. And then other occasions in the Torah, when God is angry at Israel, God promises to make Moses a nation in place of Israel, and Moses refuses. So the whole tradition of the reluctant leader, someone who's not seeking power and consolidating power, is really an interesting part of our tradition and has a lot of influence over how Jews understand government and power. One other thing I just want to mention, because a lot less people know about this. You know about Hanukkah, right? And you know about the Maccabees, right? But in Jewish history, the family of Maccabees, called the Hasmoneans, was hated by our rabbis because they did something that became very, very controversial and led to great historical problems, and that is the Maccabeans, the Hasmoneans, consolidated their power by becoming high priests and also kings at the same time. In other words, they took the status of kingship and priesthood and combined it. And the interesting story I'll talk today, this afternoon, is that when the Romans came into the picture, and everyone knew the Romans had all the power, right? So there are 3 delegations that were sent to Rome to negotiate the transition into Roman rule. There were 2 parties from the Hasmoneans that were disputing and fighting around who had influence, and they both wanted to be appointed as the Israeli rulers, and the third party are descendants or the predecessors of the rabbis, the Pharisees, who said, we don't want either of these parties. We want to have nothing more to do with the Hasmoneans. They have just brought destruction to us, and we don't want them to have all this power. So a little known aspect of our history is that the rabbis themselves were very concerned about Jews who took too much power. And so there's that, which is part of perhaps our real enthusiasm in modern times for democracy, because democracy's one of its features is the limitation of power and the checks and balances and the fact that people don't serve as lifetime rulers. So that's an interesting thing we'll discuss and explore today, which I've been finding interesting in my reading and thinking this week. So, all right. Well, that's enough. That's all the time I can allow. I'll take another comment and.
Rabbi?
Yes.
What book were you reading that in?
The main source that I found was a history by Simon Schama's History of the Jews. Is an excellent introductory, just a layperson's introduction to Jewish history. He's a marvelous writer and I recommend it. I'm reading the section on the Maccabees, the Hasmoneans, and also the rise of the various sects. I'm also teaching a class starting Wednesday nights on divisions within the Jewish people. And one of the parallels that I want to look at is the period of the Second Temple period and the Roman period, when Jews had many different factions, many different divisions, and it's similar to now, although of course manifests totally differently. So we're looking at what happened in those times when Jews were very divided and had very different opinions on what Judaism was, so as we have those divisions in our time. So it should be looking at the historical parallels. But I recommend History of the Jews by Simon Schama, Schama, and you'll enjoy it. It's beautifully written. One other thing I want to mention is I started reading the book Caste. I don't know if you've had a chance to read that book. And I think I'm thinking of having it be a book that the congregation reads at the same time so we can have a discussion. I think it's an important book that has a new perspective. Yeah, Caste. Willingham, I think, is the writer. Is that right? Willingham, and I'm getting into the book. It's quite important, I think. She talks about 3 caste societies. One of them involves India, of course, and she also considers the Black slaves of America to be in a caste system. And she talks about Nazi Germany and the Jews as a caste, a lower caste, of course, and to compare those 3 experiences. So it's a fascinating take that I think is important to read and very timely. So I think I'll tell you more about that in the future. So Isabel Wilkerson, not Willingham, Wilkerson.
Rabbi, could I give my messages now?
Sure.
Okay, great. I just have 2. I wanted to remind everybody that next Sunday, the 25th, is our annual meeting. You will be receiving another, if you're a member, you will be receiving another packet in the mail. Please take the time to vote. After our annual meeting, our new board meets. We will be meeting both on Zoom and in person for the first time since I was elected last year. New and exciting. And at that time, the board will take up the question about when we, as a congregation, will meet in person again. The board has the responsibility of that because we have the responsibility if anybody gets sick. So the final responsibility actually rests on the board to make that decision. And we, with the rabbi, we have been, meeting and talking about when the right time is. And every month we discuss, is it the time yet? So we will continue discussing that with the new board. Doris?
When did you say the new board meets?
Right after, they meet after the
annual
election
meeting.
on Sunday.
Thank you.
The other announcement I have is just Sunday, tomorrow from 1 to 2, our school, the academy, is collecting books for the juvenile detention center for the kids there. So they're young adult books, but a lot of them, some of them have children. So they're also collecting picture books so that when the children visit the parents who are still young enough to be juveniles, they can read the books to them. So if you have some gently used books, or if you want to purchase young adult literature, I know the academy would appreciate it, and they'll be there from 1 to 2 tomorrow to pick them up. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. We'll just one other announcement. And Jimmy, you look like you had an announcement.
I do. I just want to remind everyone that tomorrow CBI TV will be having our CBI Forever Star presentation with Alan Chodorow and Diane Chodorow. So please come join us. It'll be at 4 p.m. on Zoom here, and we'll have a map to show you exactly where we are in the whole galaxy. So it'll be a lot of fun.
Thanks, Jimmy. One other announcement, and that is because of the poor weather today, the 7 o'clock or 7:30 Kiddush Levana and Sing Along with Jordan Wax has been canceled. So don't go to Netherwood Park this afternoon. We just thought it was made some common sense not to try and schedule in a day that is extremely windy and may also have rain. So it'll resume on May 15th, the next Kiddush Lebanon. We'll try to have the music as part of the experience too. So, all righty, let's go back to page 173. We'll now move toward the end of services. And that I'd like to first do the Misha Berach for the sick. 173 in the prayer book. And please share names of loved ones that are sick so that we can clearly hear them. And then I'll read the names from the list of people who are not called. Misha Berach Havatena Abraham Yitzhak v'Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah hu yivarech v'yirapeh et. Go ahead, Susie.
Ken Savage.
Go ahead, Belina.
Catherine Soskin.
Jimmy. Rabbi, this is Misha, and
Yes.
I had eye surgery on Tuesday. Could you throw me my name
Give me your
into the
Hebrew
hat?
name. Give me your Hebrew name.
Shlomit Bat
Shlomit.
Yehudit.
Bat Yehudit for Shlema. And I know Gila is having surgery, so we can give me your Hebrew name. I know it's Gila Bat, but unmute.
Gila Bat Hela.
Bachela. Anyone else want to add other names? Jesse?
Burn Zachs, my mom's cousin Marty, Phyllis Elowitz, Jordan McHour.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yes, Baldomero, Yuricheta, and Ronald Casillas and Paulina Casillas.
Okay.
and Esther Welp.
Okay. And then at Velvel, Abraham ben Yehudit Umoshe ve'et Chavasara bat Pasha Upinchas ve'et Edel Rachel bat Etel Umer Israel Halevi ve'et Razel bat Rose ve'Eli Rosali Gollins ve'et Teresa Foster ve'et Raphael Yontiv ben Chavasara Menachem Mendel ve'et Arthur Friedman ve'et Judith Shanks ve'et Ira Gershon, ve'et Chaim Shmuel, ve'et Marsha Chana, ve'et Jackson Martinez, ve'et Terry Kerr, ve'et Meira Bat Chaya, Marissa Trachtenberg, ve'et Mirit Bat Miriam, Pamela Shraga, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Yimalei Rachamim Aleichem, Laxikam Rapotam Yishlach Lahem Mehira Rufu Shlema Min Hashamayim Ufat HaNefesh Ufat HaGuf Betoch Shar HaAcholim Hazek Et Yedei HaOskim B'Sarchechem Shabbat Him Lizok Ufu HaKrova Lavo Hashta B'Agala V'Zman Kariv and Omar Amen. And then let's do Hakarat Tov. If someone wants to express a gratitude for something that happened this week, please do. We'll take, yes, Belina, and then Jenny.
This is a message from Yehuda and Marit Pot, who are they're in Connecticut, Hartford, and they're at their grandson's bar mitzvah. And they're having a very good time. They just wanted to make sure I said hi to everyone, and they miss everyone.
Mazel tov. Mazel tov. Jenny.
Well, next to me is my baby sister, Sarah.
Oh, nice.
Who came from Florida yesterday, was supposed to get here at 10:30 in the morning and arrived at 8:30 last night. So, but we're still happy that she's here, and we're looking forward to having a wonderful week together. And as it happens, it's our Aunt Yurt site today. So it's the first time in forever that we've been together for that occasion.
Oh, nice. Nice to meet you. It's a pleasure. Pleasure. Yeah.
Hi, Levi, it's Madeline. Last night we said Kaddish first, and then we said Misha Berach. Can you do something with the dog? Because over our Shabbat candles, we lit our candles for the first time on Holocaust silver candlesticks that were found after the war and sold as part of fundraising to bring Jews to Israel and to the United States. And these candlesticks were found in a Jewish home of a deceased person here in Albuquerque. And I polished them up and I gave them to my daughter, Abra. And so for the first time in many, many, many years, these candlesticks have been used. And I think that they probably haven't been used since the war.
Oh, thank you. That's lovely. Go ahead, Melissa.
Oh, I was just going to say, we have two simchas coming up in my family. My son became engaged to a lovely young woman, and my nephew became engaged. So we have a wedding to go to in October and one in November. So we're thrilled about that.
Mazel tov.
Mazel tov.
Thank you.
Mazel tov.
Hakarat HaTov, on middle of 173, together, Baruch Atah Adonai Elohim melech haolam, HaTov v'Hametiv. Hodu l'Adonai ki tov ki le'olam hasdo. And then let's do our Birkat HaGomel here on page 173. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hagomel ha'ivim tovot shegamalani kol tov. Mig shegamalchem kol tov hu yigamalchem kol tov selah. Let's now return to the service. I'm going to abbreviate to the Torah service, and actually, just because we're running a little bit late, and I'm going to go to page I'm going to go right to Etz Chaim He on page 184, I believe it is. Open the ark and we stand. We'll put, say, Shalom to the Sifrei Torah. Etz Chaim Hi Lama Chazikim Ba B'tochecha Meushar Dirachecha Darkei Noam B'chol Netivotecha Shalom Hashivenu Adonai Elecha v'nashuva Chadesh Chadesh Yameinu Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem. Please turn to 185. I'm sorry, 184 for Hatzi Kaddish. Yitkara v'kara shemei rabbah v'alma divrach yirtei v'amlich malchutei v'chayichon yimachon chayid kol Yisrael v'agalai v'sman kari v'imeru Amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevorach Le'olam le'almei almaya yitbarach Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar yitruman v'yaseh yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei dekudesha b'richu le'elam mikol berchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechamata damiram v'yalma v'imeru Amen. Please rise for the Amidah, which we'll do as doing the first three blessings out loud. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzhak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim v'Konei Hakol v'Zocher Chasdei Avot u'Mevi Goel Idnei B'neihen Laman Shemo B'Ahava Melech Ozer u'Moshiach u'Magen Baruch Atah Adonai Magen Abraham u'Foked Sarah. We're on page 186. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mechayim Eitim Atav Rab L'Hoshia Morid Hatal Mechalkel Chaim B'Chesed Mechayim Eitim B'Rachamim Rabim Somech Noflim V'Rofech Cholim Umatir Asurim Umekayem Emunato Lishenei Afar Michamocha Bal Gvurot Umidom Elah Melech Memit Umechayei Umatzmiach Yeshua V'ne'emanat al Chayot Metim Baruch Atah Adonai Mechayeha Metim Baruch Atah Adonai Mechayeha Metim. 187. Na'ritzecha v'na'akdishecha kesotziach sarfei kodesh hamakdishim shimcha b'kodesh kakatu ayad neviyecha v'karaze elze v'amar kadosh 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 Adonai Sebaot Melech Haaretz Kavodo Kavodo Ma'alei Ma'alei Olam V'shartav Shoalim Zeh Lezeh Aye Mekom Kavodo Lumatam Baruch Yomeru Baruch Kavod Adonai Mimkomo Mimkomo Uyifen berachamim, Yifen berachamim, Yifen berachamim, Ayachon, Am Yachadim Shemo, Erev Voker Bechol Yom Tamid, Hamayim Yahava Shema Omrim, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Hu Eloheinu Avinu, Hu Malkeinu, Hu Moshienu, Hu Yashmienu Baracham Avsheni, Le'anei Kol Chai, Liod Lachem Le'Elohim, Ani Adonai Elohechem, Udirei Kodshecha Katuv Lemor, Imloch Adonai Elohai Sion, Lador Vador, Hallelujah. Lador Vador, Lador Vador, Lador Vador Nagid God Lecha, Lador Vador, Lador Vador, Lador Vador Nagid God Lecha, Ula Netzach Netzachim, Kedushat Chanatish, Kedushat Chanatish, Eloheinu Yifinu Lo Yamush, Leolam Vayed, Baruch Atah Adonai, Hayel HaKadosh. Continue individually now to complete the Amidah, page 188A through 192. Please turn to page 203. Yikadavi Kadashme Rabbah. B'Yamadi Vrach Yirteh B'Yamlich Malchuteh B'Chayichon Yimachon Chayedechol Beit Yisrael B'Galau Yizman Kariv Yimeru Amen Yehi Shmei Rabbah Mevorach Le'olam Le'olmei Almaya Yitbarach V'Yishtabach V'Pa'ar Yitraman V'Yinaseh Yitzadar Yitzalal Shmei Dekudashah Rihu Leila Bin Kol Berchata V'Shirata Tush Berchata V'Nakamata Damiram B'Alma B'imeru Amen Yatika B'Salot Hanavahon Kol Yacharam Avahon V'Shemaya V'imeru Amen Yehi Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya V'Chaim Aleinu V'Yakol Yisrael V'imeru Amen Oseh Shalom B'Emroma V'Yaseh Shalom Aleinu V'Yakol Yisrael V'Yakol Yoshvei Tevel V'imeru Amen. Please turn to page 204 for Ein Keloheinu. Ein Keloheinu, Ein Kadoneinu, Ein Kemalkeinu, Ein Kemoshienu, Mi Eloheinu, Mi Hadonenu, Mi Kemalkenu, Mi Kovoshienu, no del Eloheinu, no del Adonenu, no del Malkeinu, no del Moshienu. Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu, Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Malkeinu, Adonenu, Tahu Alkeinu, Atahu Moshienu, Atahu Shitiru, Avotenu, Lefanecha, Et Ketoret Hasamim, En Keloheinu, En Kadonenu, En Kemalkeinu, En Kemoshienu. Please rise for the Aleinu on page 205. Aleinu l'shabech ladon hakol, latet kula liotzer breshit, shelo asanu kugoye aretzo velo samanu kemishpachot adama, shelo sam helkenu kahen, vigor aleinu kechol amonam, v'nachnu korim, umishtachavim umodim, lifnei melech malchei hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shehu Note Shamayim V'Yosed Haaretz, O Mashav Yakara B'Shamayim Mima'al, Ushkinatu Zo, Bekav Hei Meromim, Hu Eloheinu Einod, Ememakeinu Efesulato, Kakatu V'Yatatayim, Hashivot Adonai Eloheinu, He Adonai Hu Elohim, Vashamayim Mimal, V'Yaretz Mitachat Einod, Kakatu B'Toratecha Adonai Yimloch Le'Olam Va'ed, V'Nemar Haya Adonai, Lamelech al kol haaretz, Bayomahu, Yihye Adonai echad, Ushamo, echad, Ushamo, echad. You may be seated. And I'd like to invite those who have yard sites today or to name them. And if you'd like to share something about them, please do. I see Jenny, you have a yard site today.
Yeah, our Anide Chaya, and Anide was like the queen of our family.
The matriarch.
Yeah, she was. And so I have inherited that role. So she's very special to both of us.
Zichrona livracha, Ida Nagin Stone. Yes. Anyone else have a yard site today that they want to mention? Okay. And we also remember others on this day, Anna Astriab Albert, Ray Herman, Robert Spiegelman, Shimshon Gershon, Dora Green, and Rose Jacobson. So we ask those who are mourners to please rise.
I wouldn't normally cry for tonight.
On page 207. Yitkedal v'yikadash me rabbah.
Amen.
Yalma divrach yirteh v'yamlich malchuteh. Chayechol yomechon chayedechol beit Yisrael. Bagalavisman kariv v'imru amen.
Amen.
Yesh me rabbah mevorot le'olam me almaya. Yiparach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitraman v'yitnaseh. V'tadar v'taleh v'talal shemei dekudesha b'richu. Eila min kol berchata v'shirata. Tush bechata v'nechemata. Damiram b'alma v'imru amen.
Amen.
Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
Amen.
Oseh shalom imromav. Hu yaseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. True.
Amen.
Zichronah livracha, may our memory be for a blessing. So let us conclude our service today with Kiddush, and please go to page 77 in the Siddur.
While I'm unmuted, will you do the Malka song at the end instead of the Adonalum?
Sure. Al Kain Berach Adonai Yom HaShabbat Yakadshehu Savri Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Borei Peri Hagafen L'chaim and Shabbat Shalom. Please turn to page 60, and we'll conclude our service with Shabbat Amalka. Page 60. Achama Meiro Shayano Nistalka Bo Vanetze Likrat Shabbat Hamalka Hine Hi Yoredet HaKadosha HaBrucha Bima Malachim Sva Shalom Udmenucha Boi Akamalka Boi Akala Shalom Aleichem Malachei Shalom Ibalnu B'nei Shabbat Birnana Utfila Abaita Nashuva Balev Malekila Shamarucha Shulchana Neirot Ya'iru Kol Pinot Abayit Yisrachu Yasiru Shabbat Shalom Umevorach Shabbat Shalom Umevorach Malchem LeShalom Malachei Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Thank you for joining us today, making these services lovely. We welcome Gila for the first time on Zoom, and to others, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom. Bye-bye,
Shabbat
everyone.
Shalom.
Shalom.
Thank you. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, Teresa.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shalom, everybody. Shabbat Shalom, Ellen.